If you're a strength athlete, this is how conditioning is going to absolutely change the game when it comes to building strength gains, recovering from training, and actually performing on the platform. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of people are ragging about this zone 2 thing, okay? But if we're actually going to apply this in a way that translates to strength performance, we have to understand how conditioning works and how to implement it into your training, all right? First, zone 2. You'll hear a lot of people talk about mitochondrial density, all right? You got these things in your cells called mitochondria. They're responsible for a lot of the things that you're doing in and out of the gym, all right? Especially metabolic health. So your ability to clear waste from the cell, your ability to process lactate, lactic acid, all right? So those byproducts of aerobic and anaerobic respiration, mitochondria are really important in that. All right, so zone 2 stuff, and this is just the overall hack on how to do this, especially if you're a strength athlete. We want to do low impact stuff. We want to do stuff we can breathe through our nose, hold a conversation at, all right? We want to be on stair steppers, rowers, air bikes, big fan of those, okay? Ski ergs, all right? We want to do these low impact things. Treadmills are great, but we probably want to stick with walking and not jogging or running, all right? When we look at that zone 2 effort, we're going to try to pair those on our accessory days. We're going to try to make sure we get time frames, not mileages, not distances. We want time frames, okay? Especially if we're early on in prep, if you're into a meet, if you're 16 to 12 weeks out, we want to try to accumulate 60 to 90 minutes a week of those efforts in zone 2. Now, we go into like VO2 max work, extensive tempos. If you heard of the Norwegian method, all right, the 4x4, Norwegian 4x4 method, high intensity efforts for 3 to 4 minutes, all right? The Norwegians is like 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off, high intensity, low intensity, all right? But this is how VO2 max is going to change the way that you perform on a platform. The hardest thing about lifting heavy, especially when we look at your squats, you look at your deadlifts, is being able to recover rep to rep. All right, rep to rep, and then we look at set to set, okay? The bigger your VO2 max, the more oxygen you can get into your lungs, the more you can get into your lungs in the middle of a set, so you're able to keep that brace, you're able to keep the core tight. Those things are really gonna impact you, all right? Then we start to look at VO2 max in terms of recovery from set to set. No more of this bull crap of sitting around for 20 minutes, all right? I timed a friend one time, 22 minutes between top sets of a bench. A bench, all right? You're just using your arms, all right? Not really, we know you're using your full body on the bench. But when we look at applying this, okay, as we get a little closer to meet, all right? If we've started 16 weeks out from a meet and we've done for 4 to 6 weeks, we've done our zone 2 work, we're gonna start to layer in on some of those heavier effort days, all right? If I've got some top squat singles, or if I've got a little bit of volume work, you know, we're looking in that 3 to 6 rep range on our squats, deads, even your bench presses, we're gonna start to sneak in that extensive tempo work. Favorite protocol, personally, we've done this a lot with the powerlifters I work with. We're taking those powerlifters and we're doing 3 to 4 sets of 4 minutes on an air bike with a 1.5 minute recovery between sets. The great thing is it's low impact. We're looking at like an RP 7 to 8. So something you could hold for an additional minute beyond that time frame that we asked for, get a 1.5 minutes to recover, and then we're back on and repeating that effort. What that trains is it takes that zone 2, that mitochondrial density, and it allows your heart and your body's ability to kind of regulate heart rate and bring it back down. Especially when we get into like meet prep and we look at those heavier sets, the faster you can recover from those heavier sets, the better you're going to perform on the platform. When you've got a lot of time in between, you're going to feel more fresh every single time. And especially during training, again, where you're really trying to recover between sets to make sure you're hitting those loads, those tonnages, those things are going to be vastly impacted in terms of how well you recover from those. Now, we take that VO2 max, and then as we get closer to a meet, I like to do what we call pick your poison. When we look at training high intensity for meet, especially with conditioning, all right, again, pick your poison is this thing that we're going to do called intensive tempos, all right? What we're looking at, these are like short repeated sprint efforts, all right? Now, Again, if you're a competitive lifter, I don't really actually suggest doing a lot of running. As much as I myself am a hybrid athlete kind of person, and it's a real big rage on social media, we don't actually want to do a whole lot of running. All right. So when we look at intensive tempos, we're looking to really try to work on that creatine and glycolytic systems. All right. We want 10 to 15 seconds of just all out max effort. From there, we're going to try to rest for basically a 1:4 to a 1:6 ratio. So if I go for 15 seconds, I'm going to go 45 seconds off. All right. We're trying to create this high intensity effort with a little bit of rest. We're going to take those efforts and we're going to do 4 to 5 reps. All right. Once we've got those reps, you're going to be gassed. You're going to take an additional 3 minutes. Now, the nice thing is, if I take 3 minutes, that's 3 minutes plus a 45-second gap. All right. Personally, I like to set a timer. Start like an EMOM, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are my reps where I go. My rest starts at minute 5 and runs to minute 8. Then I go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Take that next 3 minutes. Okay. What we're doing when we do that, we're training the body to flush out. We're getting those mitochondria able to flush out a lot of those waste products and that lactate that's built up and developed from the high intensity effort. And then we're able to take that to the platform. Okay. You look at your heavy single. All right. Now, let's just say you're a lifter and you're at the very end of a very tight pack of, like say a power lifter here, very tight packed group in your flight. All of a sudden you're first and you're the last person on the squat, but everybody's second attempt after you miss your first one and you have to reattempt a first to make sure you're on the board. What ends up happening? That order shuffles and now you're up sooner. It enables you, if you do your intensive tempo work right, you've done your conditioning right, what ends up happening is that you end up being able to recover fast enough to where you can go out and still take that rep. For my Olympic weightlifters out there, okay, my background, that's where my passion is. We start to look at then following yourself. Okay, it's the one thing none of us really like to do, but sometimes we have to do it. All right, if we can follow ourselves very efficiently and we've done our zone 2 work, we've done our intensive tempo work, following yourself becomes a lot easier. That right there, if you can sit there and do a phase, we're looking for 4 to 6 weeks of zone 2 work and then another 4 to 6 of extensive tempo work. And then as you get close to a meet, we want to kind of have, 2, maybe 3 conditioning sessions a week. Again, we're looking for 20 minutes, 25 minutes in total per session, maybe 60 minutes a week here. If we can have those things set in, we can develop a really robust sense of conditioning that's going to actually transfer to your lifting on the platform and in life.